under Mayor York Adams' leadership, I had the opportunity to serve as the first Latino to be a New York City Commissioner for the Department of Transportation. But the most important besides Latino, Black, white relation is that I carry on Mayor Adams' vision and agenda on equity. Renaissance Nation were the first all-black, fully professional, black-owned basketball team. The team was formed in a time when our country was divided on the basis of one skin color, which only adds to the significance and importance of this community. The Harlem Renaissance paved the way for the NBA, and this is something we must all celebrate, especially because it happened right here in the heart of Harlem.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. I said I can attest to his tireless activism and work for not just for all people. And Community Health Academy at Heights was a school that I just retired from in 2019. I'd like to bring someone up from Richardson Jordan's office. You know, the way this whole thing works, first you have to get signatures, right? Once you get signatures, then you have to go to the community board. And the community board, you present your case, you say we'd like to do this, and the reason why is because these people were graded as either an institution or an individual. And then they recommend it to the full board, and then the full board sends it to the city council office. And the city council, as Mr. Rodriguez said, votes on it. And once it votes on it, it becomes legislation. When it becomes legislation, then the Department of Transportation is allowed to put the sign up. So I want to invite a young lady from Richardson Jordan's office, because the councilwoman couldn't be here herself, but she sent her representative, so please come up.
Hello everyone, it's an honor to be here today to represent Councilwoman Kristen Richardson Jordan at this beautiful event. Thank you for having us. You know, Kristen ran, oh I'm sorry, my name is Stella Highlander, and thank you, Mr. Dennis. And this is Mr. Dennis Simmons. We're both area captains for Kristen's constituent services team. You know, Kristen ran on this idea of radical love and showing love to Harlem. And what a beautiful example of this today, reclaiming our history, honoring our history, and bringing the youth and those today in connection with the past. So I just thank you so much. Congratulations. We're excited for this street naming and just so happy to be here. Take care, everybody.
Now, what I'd like to do is play a video, and we'll put this up later. This is the book that was written by Claude, and we're going to talk a lot about that later. But what I wanted to do was play something from someone that you folks might recognize, because he couldn't be here because he's a little under the weather.
Hey everyone, I'm so excited to be a part of this event today. I wish I could be here in person, but since I'm a newsman, I said, hey, I can send in a video. It's just like if you're watching me on TV or on your phone. I'm Dean Mellinger from New York One News, especially New York One. And once again, it is an honor to be here as we salute the New York Renaissance, New York Rens, and as we educate others and future generations about the greatness of this basketball team, reminding people about how great basketball is in New York and how great black basketball is in Harlem. A great day for this here at the school, and they're pretty hot. If you watch the New York One, you know it's hot today as you walk a few blocks away to that corner where there will be a co-naming of the street here on 130th Street. You know, I am a Harlem boy and a Bronx boy. I was born right down the block at Harlem Hospital. I have family that live in this immediate neighborhood between 135th and 145th Street. So I am very proud of this moment. And many of you who know my family, well, my dad, my late dad, Dean the Dream Mellinger, clearly a Harlem boy. He went to Rice High School and went on to play for the Knicks. And so many of you, like my dad, you know it's more than just basketball. together to help people achieve. And that's something that many of the Rens, they celebrated and spoke about 100 years ago. John Isaacs, when I was close to him when he was alive, and he would often call me up and say, "Hey, Dean, come on up to the community center in the Bronx, cover us. I'm doing something with the kids." And I loved being with John because he was so excited about what he was doing. And today, I remember that excitement from him, and as many of you are excited today about celebrating the New York Rens. And that corner of 138th Street will always have that street sign up there now. And when I drive by that block, I will look up and remember all of those men who really showed what it was to be powerful and strong on and off the court. Once again, congratulations to all of you.
Let's segue over to these guys, the Rens. I had the pleasure of speaking and talking basketball with Puggy Bell. On many occasions, we would sit on the bench and we would critique the NBA playoff games and things like that. He said, "Glenn, when we played, we would pass the ball 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And when some of the other teams turned their head on defense, we all knew it, and it was bop, 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 layup." That's the kind of ball they played. The whole idea of the fast break and using, that type of game to take advantage of their athleticism. So, expound on that a little bit and how that impacted the game of basketball, as you know it.
Well, the idea of motion offense, continual motion, was innovated by the New York Rens, who got it from other all-black teams. When black teams are going out to play white teams, they're playing against lumberjacks and steelworkers and farmers, and you had to be extremely tough. And in order to get around that, you just keep moving the ball. And so that was one reason why they moved the ball. And the other reason was, if you picture this, there's an all-black team traveling to an all-white state, Wisconsin, let's say, an all-white town like Oshkosh, to play their all-white all-star team, and then win during the middle of Jim Crow, and leave, and get invited back numerous times, right? The only way you can make that happen is if you didn't beat them too badly. So John Isaacs he would say, our rule was we would go out, and the first thing you do is just score 10 points quick, because those are the 10 points the referee's going to take away, right? So get that lead, and then the rest of it, they would just stall, move the ball around, and like you said, the moment that they saw caught somebody sleeping, boom, backdoor cut, whatever there. And so, because you couldn't beat a team by 50 points, 30 points, because you wouldn't get anybody back.
Probably not.
There was an economy involved, right? Yeah. So that was a business model. So if you could beat that team by 5, then the local newspaper would say, they put up a valiant effort, it was a really good attack, they really tried hard, they fought their best. And remember, this is the world champions that they almost beat, 5 points, that's very admirable. And then everybody would love it, go home and come back again, because they thought, we have a chance.
Let's talk a little bit more about your organization. When did you actually form the Black Fives? How did you get the name? And not only that, but some of the recognition you've gotten over the years. I really want people to hear about that. I mean, going back to, I think, Barclays Center, might be one of the early times. Please share with the audience some of the overdue acknowledgement that you were able to get for not just yourself, but for these players that came before us and their legacy.
I mean, what's crazy is, remember I'm saying all this is really love speaking through me. And because of that, there's a certain amount of magical things happened over the years, right? So when I first started, and I was reading about these colored quintets and colored fives and Negro fives, and I thought that's cool, but black fives just sounds more right to me. Like it just felt like a combination of black power and then fives. Like five is a solid number, and somehow 5 fingers. It's like black five. Let's go. And I felt like that's a great name. And so that's what I put all this under. It was Black Fives Incorporated, and it was trying to make jerseys during the throwback craze and T-shirts or whatever. But it's really hard to sell a T-shirt. Like you might get one for your nephew or something like that. But you got to stay profitable in the black, etc. So at a certain point in 2013, I realized I always wanted to be more like philanthropic or charitable. Teachers were inviting me to their schools, and I couldn't really, you can't really like charge a school a 6th grade, for an appearance fee or something like that. I never wanted to do that. At home, that was pressure because like, where's the, we got to pay the bills, let's go.
Keep the lights on.
Yeah. So at a certain point, I started the foundation as a nonprofit, and everything kind of flowed after that. I donated all of the artifacts that I collected, all the intellectual property, and to the new foundation. And this magical thing that happened. So here I am. I'm trying to find ways to cope, just like Kendrick Lamar. Check it out. I'm telling you, check out his album. And I was going to these different self-help seminars or whatever. And one time I came to this ballroom and there were no seats except for this one seat. I sat down and I was sitting next to this woman. And afterwards we were talking and she was like, hey, that's really cool what you do. And several weeks went by and then I got a call from her. And she said, I'm the curator at the Barclays Center. And this was before the Barclays Center was completed. And so she said, well, I was presenting your historical images to them because they were trying to connect with the community. And would you consider letting them use some African-American Brooklyn-related vintage basketball images of yours to blow up as full-size murals? And I was like, yeah, And it turns out I'm sitting next to this person totally randomly, but the universe is not really random. And she's the curator, and she's presenting in this committee, and Jay-Z is in the committee, and he's like, oh, that's so dope, because he's from Marcy Projects and Bed-Stuy. There's all these photos of these teams that were from Bed-Stuy. And so next thing you know, and by the way, when I went to Barclays, there were cranes and forklifts and tractors, it was all dirt, like soil, this was like dirt. And it was all under construction, we were wearing hard hats. And fast forward, that was a moment, very special moment, because when they unveiled that, they allowed me to, I said, is there something special we can do for the descendants? Because I felt like it wouldn't be meaningful unless they were somehow involved. And so they let me, I somehow contacted about more than 40 descendants of the players in these photos and invited them, and they sat in the owner's suite. They got invited to Mint Court during halftime for a special commemoration. And for all time, they're going to remember that because it's like their family got anointed or recognized. And I think that's the whole point of all this, right? It's not just us, this history, but also the pioneers, and then their legacy, which is their children and their trajectory that they created. So those are just some of the ways that these things happen, and it just one thing leads to another.